The truth is a clear and present danger in the Trump administration. It turns out that all Canada did was put a truthful statement made by and directly in the voice of Ronald Reagan that pointed out that extensive tariffs will actually cause a financial collapse, an economic collapse. It's not up for debate. I mean, we knew what happened in 29. We can also look at the pathways of the current money that Donald Trump is extracting out of the economy with tariffs. And because that money isn't circulating around the people who would actually spend it. Remember, this money is being taken away from people with the least of us, the ones who, whenever they have a dollar, they spend it, which equates to economic activity. And it goes into the coffers and used in things like sending monies to Argentina, which does little to help America, and helping Argentina hurt our own farming communities. That's what it's all about. Now, for Canada repeating that video that Ronald Reagan did back in 87, Donald Trump has stopped all negotiations. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
President Trump announced overnight, just in the last few hours, he is ending all trade talks with Canada effective immediately over a Canadian television ad opposing U.S. tariffs. In a social media post, Trump wrote, quote, "The Ronald Reagan Foundation has just announced Canada has fraudulently used an advertisement, which is fake, featuring Ronald Reagan speaking negatively about tariffs." The television ad from the province of Ontario features audio from a 1987 Ronald Reagan speech that does criticize tariffs. We should note the audio is not fake, as the president claimed, but it was edited and rearranged. Here's a portion of that ad this morning.
Long run, such trade barriers. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition.
That ad aired during an American League Championship Series game between the Toronto Blue Jays and Seattle Mariners, which pulled in more than 9 million viewers when it was broadcast. Former President Reagan's foundation says it is reviewing legal options, accusing the Ontario provincial government of using selective audio and video, saying the ad misrepresents Reagan's address and that Ontario's government did not seek nor receive permission to use and edit the remarks. The office of Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney did not immediately respond to request for comment, but a spokesperson for Ontario Premier Doug Ford denied any wrongdoing in the ad campaign, telling CBC News, quote, "The commercial uses an unedited excerpt from one of President Reagan's public addresses, which is available through public domain." So because of that ad, Joe, overnight, President of the United States saying, we're not talking to Canada, our neighbor to the north, anymore. He's very upset about that. Those are Reagan's words. Yes, edited. Things do get edited. We can go back to Reagan's comments about immigration. There are a lot of things we can call back to the man who was the touchstone for generations for conservatism.
Well, around 3:30 this morning, I listened to the entire address. And it was an April 25th, 1987 radio address. It's on YouTube. And I have absolutely no idea what the Reagan Foundation is talking about, because those words in that Canadian ad were directly from that April 25th, 1987 address that is up on YouTube. And the bizarre thing is that in their statement, they directed dorks and nerds like me to YouTube to see that the Canadian ad reflected Reagan's feelings about tariffs 100%. And here is a direct, unedited clip from that address that sounds just like the Canadian ad. Roll it, TJ.
So soon, because of the prices made artificially high by tariffs that subsidize inefficiency and poor management, people stop buying. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. The memory of all this occurring back in the 30s made me determined when I came to Washington to spare the American people the protectionist legislation that destroys prosperity.
It's all there. Willie, it's all there. Everything Ronald Reagan said, all the clips that were in that Canadian ad, that Ottawa ad, were all there in the address. It's really a very bizarre turn of events. Yesterday, Donald Trump said, well, I would have done the same thing if I were them. I understand why they did it. Then I don't know if somebody called the Reagan Foundation and said, hey, we need you to attack this ad. But they're attacking not only Reagan's words, but the foundation of Reagan's views on tariffs. He believed short-term tariffs were fine, but long-term tariffs, as he just said, wrecked the economy and would cost millions of people their jobs.
Yeah, it's strange. It's one thing for President Trump, we've come to expect that to misrepresent things, but for the Reagan Foundation itself to come out kind of in support of that argument is odd.
Now, again, he ends it well. Why is the Reagan Library? Why is the Reagan Library disputing or trying to give Canada hell for accurately representing what Ronald Reagan was all about? No tariffs. Look, I am not completely against tariffs, okay? There is a reason at times for tariffs. Now, we have already destroyed our manufacturing base. Bringing back tariffs in the way Donald Trump is doing is not going to make it any better for our country. After all, what you really have to do is rebuild an infrastructure, a manufacturing infrastructure from the bottom up, if that's what you really want. I mean, I think we should, but it's not going to take tariff. It's going to take subsidies, investment and subsidies into small companies that are going to build the precursors to the parts of the economy the large manufacturing base needs. Glass bottles. We don't make a whole lot of those, right? You have to, and by the way, because we don't make a whole lot of those, the companies that create the machinery for sewing, for glass bottles, for all these things, that equipment isn't here yet. Donald Trump have tariffs on all of that. If we wanted to import equipment to start off or bring off those industries back to the United States, we couldn't. It's too damn expensive. Donald Trump knows little about economics, very little about economics. But those people who are benefiting from the tariffs, which was intent on applying a large tax on the American population, not the wealthy, a large tax on the American population is what tariffs are all about, without saying we're increasing taxes in order to fund the budget deficits that Donald Trump is running up and the excessive amount of grift that he's doing. He needs money. And he doesn't want to come out and say, I got to get the money by increasing taxes on the wealthy. And he can't stomach saying, I'm increasing taxes on everybody. So he just throws on to a tariff. And that tariff is a tax that all middle class and poor Americans pay. And that is how he brings the budget down a little bit. I mean, it's not going down, but I should say that is how he stops the excessive rise in his budget. Folks, like I said, all the time, number one, our economic system is a fraud. And having an economic system that is a fraud, that is managed by a fraudster, is the worst of all worlds. And we are paying the price of it. And the what's not reported in the media, the suffering that many are going through as jobs are lost. We don't get job reports anymore. We don't get inflation reports so far. Again, a new one that is from the government under the pretext that it's closed. There's a lot of hell to go through, folks. And that's where we're at right now. All of our country's problems, from polarization to ignorance on domestic and international issues to a complete misunderstanding of our economic and healthcare systems, are a direct result of a derelict mainstream media that too often bend over backwards to support corporate or bought politicians' wants as opposed to the people's needs for real information to make their lives better. Independent media is the only solution to inform truthfully and factually. Why? Because our loyalties are to you, the ones who fund us with small dollar contributions and subscriptions. Please consider supporting our independent media platforms by subscribing to our Egberto Off the Record newsletter at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. It's an investment that pays incalculable dividends.